Vayne will be banned out. That is a good choice coming from Coast. Like we said, it didn't win the game, but it did cause enough trouble to not want to see it again for that side of Coast.
And I think also when someone puts nearly 1,500 games onto Vayne, just make them play something else. Even if you're not afraid of it, he's probably not as good at the other stuff. So you may as well just nerf that player.
I'd say that's
by
a safe
throwing
bet.
one ban on him.
Super safe bet. I think because Jinx is like at 500.
Which is fairly substantial too.
Still good.
If you ban both of them, I think you really start to see the vulnerability. But then again, his Caitlyn play has been all right too.
That's right. A lot of things to do in the eyes of Prototype as a champion, a select picker, if you will. But it's about the rest of the team right now. It's about the first pick. It's about how they can get the team they want here on blue side. The Pantheon's gone as well, so we have two junglers. Gate gets that Azir, and Impaler's going to take Shorter Ace's Lee Sin. It's his Lee Sin too, but Shorter Ace loves that. You can see the little smile on his face, and he says, all right, gotta figure out something in the jungle.
Wow. It's strange because Impaler has played so much Lee Sin in the past, just not much Lee Sin super recently. I love the pick though.
Yeah.
As of now. I wonder if they end up just going with Nunu again though, because they had so much control. They would not be able to combo with Azir though, who, as we mentioned before, was kind of the sneaky carry of that game. Lissandra was banned last game, however, and has been such a force.
So many pickups from Lissandra, such good play, and everybody in the top lane has been taking it. Really not seeing the mid. People say it's a flex, but all the top laners are just like, I want this. And Rux, we've heard him be vocal about it. He thinks it's super strong. We're going to see him on it this game. And Rule 18, he'll say, I'll take Janna once again. Always Janna.
Yeah. Why not stick with comfort picks for Final 5? They spent so many iterations trying to find 5 players that work. You may as well let those working players play their working champions. And I think Jan is a pretty decent pick against Lee Sin as well.
The synergy works. More so, or I guess not more so, that Final 5 is messed up like a monsoon. They're a team that synergizes well. They figured it out. I was going to say more so than not, they mess it up, but more so than not, they actually do it correctly. You'll see teams kind of ulting, or you say, that doesn't synergize, Janna Jarvan. But they make things like that work because they play with the Janna so much. And Prototype loves having that on the backside for more AD. See Gate go for an assassin here, as we've already seen the Corki pick up. That's kind of like the all AD right now with the Soraka, actually, for the side of Coast.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. Coast got dictated to a little bit in that last game. Slash couldn't initiate in the right times, and Soraka doesn't necessarily help them with that. But we'll have to wait until the final 2 picks come out. Those are very generic first 3 picks for Coast. It leaves them room to pick pretty much anything they want because they have a nice mix of damage already. I really want to see what Final 5 reveals here. I don't know why they would pick Ryze so early. That must be a placeholder. They should pick their jungler here so they can counterpick the solo laner. And they're going with a somewhat similar style, honestly. They have the same trinity of an 80 carry that does a lot of damage with a Nunu and a Janna. So it's, again, going to be pretty tough to reach Prototype.
And this time he needs to build even less attack speed. He's got it in his passive.
He's got the minigun.
He's got the minigun. Looking over the side of Coast, we did talk about that Corki, that Soraka. Yesterday when Coast was playing Curse Academy, it was Gnar, Ahri, and Soraka banned over and over again, except for the first game that Coast won against them. So now they get the Soraka. Maybe it's for the laning phase. Maybe that's where they want the composition to be affected. We'll have to see what the lock-in is now for the last 2. Could be a Twisted Fate.
Whoa.
It's going to be the Xerath lock-in for sure. And we have seen Twisted Fate jungle. I don't know if we're going to actually see that. Yeah, the Lee Sin already. Yeah, right?
That would make no sense.
And it could be Chris on Rumble. They're giving themselves a pretty powerful level 6 here with what they've brought to the table objective-wise. They can get some good poke in.
Yep.
They also have the Corki, so how are they going to do it? Really? I like the other one better. All right.
The Riven is going to be much more exciting, but also a lot worse. This is true. Which would have been the reason they switched it to the Rumble. If they would have gone with Riven, the lockdown from Lissandra and Peel of Janna would have been a bit much. This time, they're almost trying to outrange the Janna. We saw a fair bit of this at Worlds when Janna started to become a big-time pick as teams that could basically operate from outside Monsoon's range would have a lot of effectiveness, and that's what this is. The Equalizer, basically every spell Xerath has, Corki missiles, and Lee Sin with his amazing mobility don't really care about Monsoon. And I like that Coast has been able to put that together. It's a bit tough for them to force fights. They're going to have to force some poke and siege, which is why Final 5 needs more initiation. They go with the Cast and Lissandra, and they're going to close right through.
Kassadin list. So that list may actually be going mid lane now, as we've seen Kassadin start getting picked up in the top. Rux takes that for himself. Double AP compositions are definitely coming to light quite a bit more here in 420, and it's going to be for both sides this time. You're going to get a lot. Ooh.
A lot of swapping. They can do whatever they want here.
Right.
We've seen Caston and Lissandra both be flex picks in this tournament alone. It's a very interesting team composition now for Final 5 because they have that protection bubble with Nunu, Janna, and Jinx, but they don't have a front line this time. They have two assassins that would jump in, so it makes it much more difficult to play that protection game if you don't have tanks in the front to soak up the poke or block things. And that's what Coast is going to have plenty of. I think it's going to be a much more blood-filled game than our last one.
So looking at poke comps now, let's look at Coast a little bit, since they have the Xerath, they have the Rumble, they have the Corki. You almost kind of look at that team if it gets late. Do they have to have Baron and minions to push down a turret? Do they just get stuck at the base of their opponent?
Yeah, I think they definitely need a little bit more objective control. They have the range poke, but it's not like they have a whole bunch of turret sieging. I think the Dragon is incredibly important, which makes it a difficult task against Nunu.
All right, well, let us know if you think it's a difficult task. Head over to Twitter, hit us up at LOL Esports, hashtag LCS expansion. Yeah, it's the expansion, and somebody is about to go home. Unfortunately, the winner in 2 more games, if it is going to be Final 5, move on, and they do still have a chance at the LCS. The loser is going to be in the next Challenger Series. There's an S word in there.
Yeah.
So it's not all loss.
It's been a good event so far. These games have been incredibly close. Curse Academy, of course, becoming the first qualified team.
Yeah.
There will be 2 qualified teams because LCS has 10 teams next year.
It's going to be awesome.
The winner of this match will face the loser of the match earlier, which was Fusion. And so much on the line for these guys. Pretty much having to make a miracle run if you're either Final 5 or Coast, winning 2 best-of-5s in a row after losing on the first day.
I'm excited about that. Newer teams, too, coming in during a great time of the LCS. Coaches being a little bit of a part of that, so the season's going to be a lot more interesting from pick ban phase.
And a lot of really exciting player stories that come through. I mean, just looking at the Coast team, all these guys have been in the LCS before at some point. Jessis has been to Worlds. Chris has played in the LCS as a top laner, bounced around so many teams.
Yeah.
Short Arrays has the least experience, and he's actually going to be getting in a little bit of trouble up top lane.
Keeping himself safe for the most part. He still has about 35 seconds before he needs to come back out, so he'll use that back, and he'll be able to get back into the jungle. And that's what these guys want. As we were saying, they want that LCS experience. We've seen how good teams can get throughout a split. Teams like EG, they faltered a bit, but we saw towards the ends they were clearing out super weeks by themselves, taking full wins. It took them a while, but it also took Alliance a while to get going before they became a super team.
It's true.
Just can't count these teams out. And they came in with guys that were super veterans.
Yeah, the North American LCS is just going to be so interesting. You can tell the teams are all really looking globally for their talent as well. Obviously, there is some homegrown talent. Cloud9, 5 North American region players. But if we consider Curse Academy right now, and Keen coming basically from Korea to Australia, now to North America. If we assume that that team with those 5 players goes in, and then you're looking at Fusion, they have MacNoon. You're looking at Coast, they have Impaler and Jez's from Europe. Cloud9 would actually be the only team of the 10 in the North American LCS to have 5 North American players. That's how global the North American LCS is becoming. And it's just because everyone's trying to be so competitive with each other. They're looking everywhere for that last little bit of edge, and it's usually a little bit of a mix because they're just trying to find the absolute best players.
It's going to be amazing to see everybody get together and start playing with as well, especially as the seasons go on, how well teams do, who gets swapped out. You may even see some of these teams see some switches before they get into the LCS. Things happen and teams want to get those victories. Like you're saying, that's why things are going global. Got to start spicing things up. Playstyles are a lot different, and that's what these players bring as well. They say, well, you know, we may do this, but you're going over a bump in the road. Let's try it a different way, and we can get the victory. Oh, Chris taking a bit of damage, but Rux is completely out of mana here in this top lane as we start checking out the champions in their laning phase.
Yeah, again, standard lanes to kind of get back to this game. Again, Shorter A's did a pretty quick early jungle route, but does a strange thing because he goes back, gets a cloth armor, doesn't upgrade to a Ranger's Trailblazer or anything, instead gets a ward. I'm perplexed, to say the least. I love the reduced smite cooldown and all the other benefits that that item gives you. He's
is there
so
kind of a
slow
point
right
to
now.
doing this? Could you see where he's going with it?
No. Maybe because he didn't farm enough and wanted to buy a ward, because cloth armor is cheaper than the jungle item upgrade. That's the only thing that I could see for not upgrading it early on in the game. But that being said, he is Nunu. He can get away with it.
Yeah, he can do that. Pretty much zeroes out the red buff, so he's doubled up. Impaler himself has doubled up as well. He's already been back for his first. He has the Trailblazer, so we'll see him back in the jungle a little bit. He will have a bit of a hard time in top lane, but the other lane's not too hard to gank if he wants to try and get in there. Not dealing with a ton of CC, but we saw just a little bit of pressure from Shorter A's last game being enough that they needed to win the lane, so it doesn't have to get the kill, just has to do enough.
This time, though, he has to match up against a Lee Sin. It's not a Warwick who's going to stick in his own jungle for that long, and immediately the guys start fighting each other. He loses the white and is actually getting out-leveled by the Lee Sin, who, surprise, upgraded his jungle item and was able to get that smite down onto the Raptors.
Still has it, and the cooldown as well for Trailblazer. And he looks like he's going for Krugs as well. He wants to get a little bit more experience out of the jungle. Shorter Ace forced to the bottom side now, but this also gives Coast a really good idea of where Shorter Ace is. They might try to get a little aggressive on this one. He's going to hang out in the Tri-Brush. Impaler waiting now with Chris, but Rux is full mana. He's got Claw. He can get himself out of a sticky situation. Does so, and he gets out with 100 HP on that one. Flash, burned down. No teleport either, so it's going to be a long walk.
Rux just getting hit by pretty much everything there. The harpoons into a flame spitter, and then the Sonic Wave before he can eat a safety. I didn't think
I was impressed they made that work.
Impaler was going to make anything happen up there, but they absolutely make it work, burning the flash and basically denying a huge amount of CS. Also pulling Shorter A's up to defend.
Really tight play within the turret, so he's had to come all the way from the bottom. Can't add pressure there where they were already looking to possibly get a kill. Low mana as they go actually back and forth. That's the exhaust that Prototype brings to the table. It actually keeps him alive instead of helping him get the kill this time. And we're going to see a quick heal come out. Summoner heal both actually used for Mash Me and the exhaust machine.
Yeah, 4 summoners end up being burned.
Right.
The exhaust is something I actually have a little bit of time to talk about. I don't think it's that bad. I actually think in some situations having exhaust is much better than having the heal. Maybe not in this game, because the only person he's going to be able to exhaust on Jinx is probably the Lee Sin when he comes in. I'd love it against something like a Zed, as long as your support is able to supplant the not having heal in some way. For Rule 18, it's with the shield. However, it kind of comes back to this flexibility point of Prototype always bringing exhaust. I don't think it's the right spell in this specific game. They obviously didn't lose the trade there because of it. They were able to exhaust. It had roughly the effectiveness that a heal would have had. We'll see if it has more effect later on in the game.
We're trying to figure out a way where it's just going to bite him, and I guess we have to see it first, right?
Yeah, it's basically if he's low health with his exhaust up and Xerath is ulting him. Right? Because he's going to want the heal for the heal and the move speed, but the exhaust will have no way of preventing it.
Touche. Get taken out by the artillery of Jazzes. He's actually there. He can do it. Level 6 right now. 5 for Jinx, 5 for Mash on Corki, so they don't have too much of that objective control over the Dragon just yet. We're seeing teams mill about, get some of those wards down. Good protection on the pink ward coming in from Coast. Really just going to go back and forth. I guess they don't have anything to do. There's no minions in the lane right now. That top turret already getting a lot of damage on it. Impaler going in for the kill. Thought we were actually going to have some action in the top lane, but it's the bottom still going hard. Jez and Gate back and forth. Not very much mana here for Jez, so Gate's going to try to play with him a little bit, dodging out on quite a bit of the damage. And it looks like Final 5 feeling very good about adding pressure around the map.
And pretty even lanes throughout. It will really come down to that warding around the Dragon, I feel like.
Yeah.
And whether or not the top laners are on equal footing to teleport down. I mean, yes, the CS is close in that top lane, but you can see Chris is level 6, almost level 7, whereas Rux is still yet to hit level 6. It's pretty much a full level that he's had over top of Rux right now. Which means if Final 5 were to try and force a Dragon fight, the Rumble could maybe come down there and be really, really effective.
Jazz is with blue. Looks like he did get a little bit of help from Impaler on that. Who's going to go top lane. Another try at Rux possibly, or at least to get these wards cleared out. Still has a trinket, so they at least won't clear that out. But a good ward from Rux keeps himself safe. They've been wanting to go for Rux on Lissandra. He was vocal about that pick and how strong it is. So it looks like Coast wants to make sure they shut it down. Another ward keeping himself safe. Back and forth. I don't think we're actually going to get too much pressure here. We have seen Impaler back off. Chris, wow, taking turret shots.
Nice.
That's going to be another one. And you can just see Rux knows what he's doing. If you go invulnerable, it's very hard to dive somebody. And the ward's still keeping him safe. He'll back, teleport up so the plays could be made by Final 5 here. And Rux actually says, don't worry about me top lane. Keep farming mid. Good communication around the map there.
Yeah, Rux is holding on by a thread, though, honestly. If he had to pull off that impressive play just to keep the lane even.
That's like the second time now.
Yeah, it's really tricky for him to maintain strength here. But he does go back and buy, and the lanes honestly continue farming. It feels like Final 5 is probably okay with this game extending. They want Lissandra to get to a point where she can blow people up. They need casting to scale up, get probably a Rod of Ages and his Zhonya's, as well as having a tier, which puts the timer in an even deeper place where it's going to take an incredibly long time for Gate. Yep. They know Prototype on a late game Jinx, because she can shoot 700 range AoE rockets with Nunu and Janet, is in a good place. I think they just want to force Coast to make plays here, which they know Coast can't do, because Coast is a fully siege team. So as long as this laning phase goes on for a really long time, and no one groups up to start an objective to get poked down, Final 5's okay with that.
But that's really the way they see it. Shorter Ace playing the same game as last time, and he doesn't have to worry about a level 6 infinite duress gank. Just Impaler getting into position. And right now, he's actually going to be reading that like a book. Both junglers actually read each other quite well. Shorter Ace in a very nice position. Couldn't it be better on the timing? He's going to head in. Rule 18 blasts Impaler back with a great Monsoon, but that also separated them from the fight and leaves Shorter Ace to hang out to dry by himself. He goes down. That's first blood. The teleport from Chris will give a bit to Rux and pressure in the top lane, but good first blood there.
I agree. I do have to ask why, though. Why was Shorter Ace coming in from behind on that gank? They don't need to make any plays. The laning phase extending is actually good for Final 5 in this scenario. But they open up an opportunity. Shorter Ace gets caught out of position. Rux doesn't even bother finishing off his teleport, so they're going to try and trade a turret for this dragon. But they still end up giving up first blood. And that pretty important dragon buff, which, as we mentioned earlier, Coast kind of needs if they want to win this game. They need the dragon control and the dragon threat because their turret killing is so weak.
Right. They have to be able to make moves despite where they are in the game. If they aren't getting the dragons, then those moves are going to be way harder to make. Even if they're down, that dragon ability and stats and gold, rather, will give them the chance to get back into the game. We've seen a lot of teams do it. The power is very deceptive in 420. Along with how much gold is on the board. You can't really take it for granted. Jess is keeping himself safe in mid at 96 to 85. But Gate's really not worried about taking this lane down. We seem to be a bit aggressive, but once Final 5 gets their Roman and gets these kills in for Gate, he starts charging up. It's going to become very big. What Coast has done is they have not allowed that to happen so far. 6 through 9, Final 5 has kind of gone through that bit of a power spike for their assassins and not gotten anything out of it. Lost one kill. Looks like Chris is going to be able to get good damage here on the top of the turret. So it looks like Coast not shaken from game 1 loss, and they're just playing the way they should be.
Yeah, Coast, it's very important that they bounce back in this game. However, Final 5 has been up 2-0 in a series before and still found themselves in this game. So it is not over till it's over, and I think that is even more true on this patch in this tournament, just because of the relative inexperience of these teams, the chaos that is ensued in these games, and the unfamiliarity with the patch and exactly how to close the games, all combining to give us this really volatile, cool-to-watch tournament.
Cool to watch indeed, as everybody's trying to figure out what the best way in on these compositions is. Morello Namakan finished up on Jez is. He's trying to use that passive he got from the Raptors, but I don't know if it's going to give him anything he wants. Looks like he got it.
Impaler is camping this bottom lane for the second game in a row, and he catches him. Why was Prototype there?
Huge hit on a Prototype again, too far forward. They don't have any wards in that forward brush. That's the second time, as you said, Impaler's just able to walk in on the kill. There's the artillery. The shield will save him. He will not go down, but it might be Mashme able to land a rocket on this one. That's the big one. That's Rule 18 going down, and Coast capitalizes once more.
Coast is beginning to take control of this game. They have good pink ward control. Honestly, that catch could not have happened without absolute certainty that they had control in that bottom brush. They also knew where Nunu was because they'd just seen him clear the ward, so they knew if they got in quickly with that kill, they'd be able to finish him off as well. And honestly, it was not good situational awareness by Prototype. When he knows his support and his jungler are that far away, there's no need to press up that far for the minion wave. Wait until Jan is close to you.
Well, it's kind of like history repeats itself. Did the same thing on Vayne last game. Kind of feels a little bit safe for that last minion wave. Ends up getting himself killed and giving the assist over to 2 other people because Coast reads it like a book. Chris trying to be a nuisance here in the top lane. Overheats himself, so he's got to be careful. Rux is just on the ultimate. That's going to be the hit. He actually misses the W. Doesn't get in close enough to get that damage down for the extra lockup.
Yeah, but he got 2 levels on him right now. And he's already built a little bit of magic resistance because he knows that the only way Rux turns this around is if he bursts him clean down. Chris playing that lane really well. Helped from the early jungle pressure from Impaler, something that did not exist in game 1. Shorter Ace really yet to have a big impact on Nunu outside of getting caught occasionally. Oh. That's a fast Soraka right there too.
Flying into an injured teammate so quickly. You remember Saint talking about that at IEM. He loves to watch that happen, and she does just come zooming down the lane if you watch the mini-map. And
especially because she had the mobility boots too. So she was just so fast. And it's not even like Chris needed the heal. He was against a Janna, but because he was low health, it just worked out so perfectly, and then Soraka can come in for the silence slash root combo.
Just hear these hoods splashing through the water up towards Baron. I'd be terrified. Mid turret's going to go down. Coast, maybe a minute more. We just saw the other 2 turrets drop, so they've gone pretty much 3 consecutive around the horn on the outside of the map now. Getting a little bit more gold there. You can see 23,000 to 19. Definitely playing a different game than game number 1. A lot more control. They're using the composition how it needs to be used. They don't have to worry about Impaler going in with an infinite duress and peeling him out. He can get himself out, and it seems like the team likes that a little bit better. They don't have to initiate completely on things. Here's more of that poke. One of the harder turrets to try and defend, and they're going to do so. Looks like the shield will keep everybody healthy. He just stood still. Maybe trip on his shoelaces?
Hey, maybe he thought he was going to portray a predictive Zera.
Oh, that's
Guesses
true.
Could not be fooled, though. He finished him off there. And, the Prototype ultimate hits nothing.
Yep.
That was a mini-map thing.
Super mega whiff rocket.
Honestly, right now, I think Final 5 is a little bit lost as to what to do. They had such a strong front line and team fight strategy in the last game, and they could really control the map. But they are a little bit misguided with their team here. Rule 18 has nothing to peel. They have a couple of assassins and then a guy they're trying to protect, but everyone just keeps getting caught out of position. Prototype.
Oh, the TP in. A few more shots. Impaler gets in the way. That's going to be one last auto attack coming in from Rux. Prototype's going to finish this one off with the Gatling. Oh, no. What a save. Sheep coming in from the side. Impaler takes the Lee Syndrome all the way in and kicks Prototype in the mouth. That's going to be another kill for them. 30 seconds on the Dragon as well, which helps. They should be able to probably, hopefully stop this. Maybe they'll let it go down and grab Dragon as Final 5 backs.
Yeah, the game's getting a little bit more crazy now. But Coast maintains that level of control. Good cleanup there by Impaler, but definite first moves made by Final 5. They couldn't get many player kills, but 3 turrets may open up this map a little bit.
Yep.
The timing just doesn't work out for Dragon, though.
Let's see that one more time. Prototype, the valiant effort. He says, I'm not moving until this drops.
Yeah, pretty interesting skirmish, and this is one of those times where the exhaust really works out for him.
Yeah.
I think exhausting Chris during that flame spitter reduced more damage than the heal would have healed him for. And then Impaler, a flash for the already really fast Soraka, and an exhaust of his own, which honestly probably wasn't needed. Just made a nice collapse opportunity by Coast. It also delayed the backs long enough for Final 5. The Dragon number 2, and more control go to Coast.
Very nicely done by Coast. Coming up strong in this one. And we've seen Final 5 play from behind before. We saw it actually against Fusion. But I feel like it was Fusion that started making mistakes, which allowed Final 5 back. They didn't really have the answer to get themselves back in the game. So we might see this kind of string out a little bit. They are finding a few kills here and there. We did see one off the turret, but that was Final 5 pressuring into something they knew was going to be death in the end. Can they get out of those situations alive?
Yeah, if we think back to that game, Final 5 just went into turret pushing mode. They didn't care about getting killed from time to time when they started killing turrets. Honestly, in the last 3 minutes, Final 5 killed 4 turrets. So they're in that mode right now. It's on Coast to maintain control of the game. The outer turrets they've lost now need to be the last turrets they lose. They need to ward up their jungle, which they have the capability of doing with Impaler's Lee Sin and Sheep's Sightstone on Soraka. If they get the ward control, they can chase kills intelligently and still finish off objectives, something that Fusion was not able to do in that very chaotic game against Final 5. And if they do that, it's a 1-1 series.
They have the ability to clean up those kills too, even if they start getting away. It is a slippery team. You have Rux, you have somebody who's blood boiled with a bit of speed and attack speed, resets and disengage. So Jez is with the long range. Everything Coast brings to the table can help them finalize these fights. We did see a 36-minute game last time. A lot of this weekend has been 50-minute plus games and whatnot. And it seems these teams have found a way under each other's skin after that 30-minute mark, and they're able to bring it to town and bring it to the Nexus. Few Barons have been had, but like we said, lately it's been about the Dragons on the 420 patch. Coast has the team to lock down those Dragons, and they have done so far. 2 Baron in 30 seconds. We'll see if anybody even really gives that a thought.
You never know. There's been a lot of sneaky Barons that have happened so far in this expansion tournament. We could very well see a few more of those. But it's the ward control and the catch potential right here. Gate, he is just totally messed up there. Soraka's silence after he had been stunned made it so he could not rift away. And a great catch there by Coast. That's one way of stopping a split push. Get them in their own jungle before they can start pushing.
All the boards were there. Very interesting that he got caught out. Fast plays and fast fingers by Coast to start making things work. And now they're getting the wards they need inside the jungle. It's hard for Final to even move in this. Looks like they're going to start getting taken out one by one. The death timers are still pretty low, so you can see they're trying to gain some ground here and stop Coast from getting in too much farther. That's a good flash. Gets himself kicked actually to safety. Prototype's got to watch himself getting poked from Jessis, but if he calls out that Jessis is low on mana, Final 5 could actually find a way to fight this.
Yeah, this could be one of their few chances, but they have to get a good initiation from Rux. If he can flank properly and get the right kind of Lissandra ultimate down, they would have a chance. But they know they're pretty far down right now. Yeah. Another fight could mean Baron in the game. They might just try and keep up the chaotic split pushing game. Let's see what Rux does. He goes.
Chaotic indeed. It's going to be a teleport in from Chris as well. On the other side, him and Rule 18 meet face to face. The Leandries is going to help bring him down along with Impaler. Actually, Chris takes down Janna, that is Rule 18. He finally gets hit up as they're able to kind of separate the fight. But all over the map right now. Final 5 gets out of that one by the skin of their teeth, a 2-2.
And the teleport was burned from Chris. So even though it didn't seem like a very clean fight by Final 5, they end up coming out on top as long as they don't suffer any casualties later on. Really close stuff. Coast needs to make sure that doesn't keep happening so they don't lose their advantage.
I like that play a lot. That was Chris in the bottom lane, and he was about to have his way with that second tier turret. Good push into the mid by Final 5. Really drew over that teleport. Let's see this one more time. As soon as he sees that that could be a fight, he's out of that lane.
And it ended up being a really split fight. You could see Rux trying to stick onto Mash, but Soraka ended up giving him enough healing anyway that that side of the fight actually went pretty lopsidedly.
Yeah.
The Rumble was actually a huge force. He basically 1v3'd the Janna protection squad.
Right.
It's like we said, it's this disjointed team from Final 5. 2 divers, and then a couple of dudes to try and keep Prototype alive. The protection squad didn't do very well that time. They still lost the Janna and only got 1 kill back in a 1v3, but the dive squad was able to even it out, and everyone ran away with very low health.
Very interesting way they perceived that fight right off the bat and kind of took to it, clearing it out. 2-2 is nothing to be sad about. This could be pretty sad here, though. Jez is getting hit very hard. He's going to get almost hit by the Super Mega Death Rocket. Slowly taking him down. That's what I was wondering. Chris gets locked up. That's going to be not the Ignite. No, I thought the Leandrews would burn him out, but he lives with just a sliver of health. He gets excited. That's Prototype. One more shot. The double kill for him. Whoa! Impaler and Mash both going in. They see low health bars, and they feel like they can mop this one up. This is going to be dangerous, though. It's Prototype still with a lot of damage under his belt, but they feel like they can push it out. They do so with the Vision of Wards. A flash Q miss as well from Impalers. He wants to go even harder, but they're not going to be able to get the re-engage. That goes for, I believe, a 3-for-1 across the board. And almost a huge cleanup by Impaler and crew. There's one! That's going to be the cripple. He takes down a Gate, and it's going to be a wait there. So you see 35 seconds on the clock, but there's a few mistakes there made by Final 5 after that fight.
Yeah, the recall by Gate. There was a pink ward 5 feet away from him. If you recall on a pink ward, he lives. But in this fight, Jess is not with his team. Gate actually I was surprised it took him so long to kill him here. He was being very certain to dodge the skill shots and then had to move out of the silence zone. And Rux actually ended up taking a whole bunch of damage. I'm very surprised he didn't die there. This is 2 fights in a row where Final 5 has gotten away with slivers of health. That's the kind of stuff that actually lets you come back in games if they can continue to do that. The chase afterwards, obviously, we know what happened, but it lasted so long, they're fighting again.
Super bloodthirsty right now. That's a huge kick coming out of Impaler, and they're able to finish off Rule 18 quite fast. Monsoon down, his Ignite and Flash are already down. So even if he was in the fight, that wouldn't be helping too much. But they are going to be able to pick up now a 3rd Dragon in the game on the side of Coast, becoming that much stronger.
And aside from the great catch by Impaler right there, to kick Rule 18 over the wall and get the kill, that all cascaded from Gate not recalling in the right place. If he had just recalled on the pink board, he would have been respawned for that. They could have stuck together as a team when getting control for the next Dragon. Because they didn't have that, Rule 18 had to be ahead of the game because he was trying to get ward control since they've lost 3 Dragons already. Another great catch, though. Impaler's early pick Lee Sin has been awesome. This game.
They're making it more dangerous for Rule 18 as well. The farther we get and the more wards that Coast has, Rule 18's all by himself trying to give vision to the team. He's only trying to help, but he just gets picked off every time. You can see his position right now is farther than anybody on the team, and Prototype would not be able to help him if the situation were right for Coast. So he has to get himself in these scary situations, and Coast is easily taking advantage of it every time. 2 kills or 3 for across the board, kind of an average right now for Coast, so everybody's getting a piece of the action. Impaler now going to pick up his red buff before he gets back to just that. Looks like he's actually going to give it to Mashman. What a nice guy.
Or was it Mash who asked for it?
Oh.
I feel like Mash is the guy who would try and take that for himself, but he deserves it as well. It's much better on the Corki when he's trying to run away from these crazy, crazy assassins. Rule 18, that one...
Boom.
I can't blame that one on Gate. That was Rule 18. It was actually Prototype who also got cut out. We'll have to get a replay if the game allows us to have time to do so right there to see how he fell, because now there's a ton of pressure on the map and turrets.
Yeah, they are moving down to the bottom lane. They know they don't have too much to wait out on Baron because Prototype's down. They don't have to deal with that DPS. We're going to get the split here. Go back and check that play out real quick to see what happened. Prototype caught in the middle. Feels like he's in a duel, but that's not the case.
Just a not well-positioned Jinx right there. Speaking of not being well-positioned, though, Chris.
Oh, he tries to lay out the red carpet. Nobody's really walking on. Nobody buys it. They're going down as well. And it's just weird.
This is why these games aren't over until they're over. Because they don't have the proper vision control, and they're trying to split in too many different directions. First off, we have Prototype not being in the right position and not running as soon as he sees the red buff Corki. And then we have Chris doing God knows what in the top lane by himself, also gets caught out. And now Gate, what's he doing?
Oh, gotta walk around the worm. It's big. Kicks him. Oh, he does connect it. I thought it was going to be just on the edge. Calculated, he gets it.
Yeah, and Impaler's really good at Lee Sin. This game has deteriorated a little bit right now. Everyone's getting caught.
Gate's going to start counting on his fingers how many times he's been caught back in, and it's starting to create problems for the team. They're kind of, I wouldn't say on tilt here, but they've definitely given up the 110% mode. They're kind of a little lackadaisical in taking their own jungle back. It might be a little demoralized. Coast bring it to them hard, 15-7, but they are not out of it yet.
And there's been so many deaths from Final 5 because they have lacked vision control that it's difficult for them to check this. However, Coast got real messed up by the Baron right there. So they end up having to back away as well, not willing to risk things. I think they need to wait a little bit more for some of these later Dragon fights and get Dragon 4 and Dragon 5 before they can end up taking this Baron safely and just continue to play safe. They can't have Rux getting caught out of position, and they've already experienced the danger of getting caught by Gate. It snowballs very quickly. Nunu speeds everybody up. Prototype gets excited if he gets a few kills and has a lot of damage at his back. It's a dangerous game.
Dangerous game indeed. I like that master.
It's a pretty fun master.
So Gate charging up on the Seraph's Embrace and the Rod of Ages as well. He's the only one who picked that up. We don't see Rux with one, just going for the pen. And the Void Staff and the Morello Namakan. Corki with the Blade of the Rune King within his build. Interesting knowing that a few people are going to be getting close in that Kassadin and that Lissandra, trying to get a Nunu off him as well.
We haven't talked about that build much. It's what Corki ends up building if he wants a little bit more mobility. Against a Kassadin and Lissandra, it's what he's going for, but I feel like I would still rather have a Bloodthirster or an Infinity Edge. Bloodthirster for the shield so you don't get one shot as easily, or an Infinity Edge just for more straight-up damage since they're going to close on you and stick. But he's gone with the Blade of the Ruin King, and we have another one of these base rushes, but this time Kate gets picked off. It's not going to be a race. They're going for the inhib.
The base rush, indeed it is. It is going to be on the inhibitor, but they decide to peel out. He connects it. He wants it. Gets to kick back, but he only kicks him to safety for Final 5. Nobody else had the position to peel around. That's an absolute zero that disengages. He kind of pops it fast, wanting to get out of that. The silence goes down, so they can't retort yet. That's a shot over to Prototype. He's going to stay alive. Chris comes in. That's the teleport into a ward that's been in River. Flamespitter picks up number 1. That's going to be Mash picking up number 2. We've already seen Gate go down previously from the engagement. He's got 4 seconds left on him, and Final 5 is not left with any HP to fight this one out.
Favorite part of all that, Rux bailed immediately before anyone else decided to run away. He just teleported the top lane, got out of there because he knew that they were in way too deep for that. They almost made a great escape with a great Monsoon from Rule 18 and some nice tornadoes, but eventually they got closed on. A couple of them died. Gate has respawned though because Rux bailed and because Nunu was still alive. This Baron is still very contestable. Shorter
Ace, felt it earlier. He doesn't have the flash this time, so he can't get himself in range. But he's still got Smite Consume. Consumes a little bit shorter.
There's the Sandra!
I don't know if he's going in. Baron's not getting hit. That's going to be Rux going down. Corki with some good kills here, and that means Mash is only going to be able to put out more damage. Everybody just flashes out of the pit. Shorter Ace goes down. Gates also going down. They get Baron, and what a chaotic fight as Final 5 is just kind of throwing themselves in, trying to see if they can stop Coast, but it only gives Coast more of the kills.
I love the fact that Rux went into the middle of the team as Lissandra. I hate the fact that he didn't ult himself. Dude, you're in the middle of 5 people. Make it so they can't hit you. You'll still hit them. He tries to kill Impaler because they were thinking of a steal opportunity, I think. But I think it ends up costing the game. The catches continue. Nobody is live. Baron is gone. That inhibitor's going down.
It's still quite short on the timers. They have 3 of the main members up. Prototype's still going to be down. He went down last, but Coast is just running away with this one. A lot stronger than what we saw in Game 1. They've switched it up. And they're just playing as it should be, as the LCS players that they used to be and that want to get back into the LCS.
Yeah, they've made a mistake here and there, but in the meantime, they've controlled so much and made so many big plays. And Impaler in particular has played exquisitely on Lee Sin.
Yeah.
Mash has played incredibly safe against 2 very potent assassins in Rux and Gate in order to stay alive. The Blade of the Ruin King does help with that, with his ability to move away. They take yet another dragon. Let's take another look at this Baron.
One more time.
Yeah, I mean, Rux
it's right onto Impaler.
He dies immediately. He doesn't have Zhonya's yet. The only way they have a chance there is if you ult yourself on the Sandra. You still get a bunch of damage. You actually potentially get more because it emanates from around you. He would have hit absolutely everyone with his ultimate, as well as having untargetability for 2.5 seconds, which could have given more time for the rest of the team and maybe prevented something. It was a long shot, but at least play it right.
You still smite through that anyways, right? It's not a suppress.
Yeah.
Yeah, so...
they were trying to kill him.
Yeah.
They're trying to burst him down as quickly as possible. But with a
so
Soraka there, you have to spread your damage and actually finish off the Soraka with some AoE.
Got to take everything into account. We've seen people backing in places they shouldn't back, doing things they shouldn't do. So you forget about these champions who have the little windows of things that are completely going to counter you. And it's really been playing in Coast's favor this game. We've really seen, like you said, Impaler come up big. He's been able to get into positions that Final 5 doesn't want him. Things they thought they could stop with that composition to shut down anybody getting to the back line.
Yeah, I feel like Final 5 really needs to fight this, but I don't know if they can. This is what Coast wanted this whole game. Multiple Dragon buffs, Baron buff, a siege opportunity.
Yeah.
And they have this. If Xerath lands anything, it makes Final 5 too low to engage.
I mean, when we started this one, I said, aren't they just going to need Baron to get through this? There's too much poke, but you see how much siege it gives them now. Absolutely decimating the base. They're going to take it. The Wish goes out early, but Coast was already very low. There's no health regeneration on this Baron, and it looks like they're going down quite fast. The Zap hits. He is not going to get locked up by the Equinox. They're able to make it through that one. Dodges out on the Star Call as well. Prototype with the red buff trying to lock it down. Sheep could be delivering one more slow on the back, but he's not able. No, one more. The Zap, the Sanyas. I would not stay in range for this Sheep. It is not going to spell good things. Gate does not choose to follow still. They're going to get some wave clear on this. Prototype looks like he actually might want it. The angle that he's cutting off may put him in range, I don't think it's going to happen that much anymore. Soraka makes it too far out, and it looks like they're going to get out alive. A good push by Final 5, but that was a chase. They didn't get much off it after that.
Yeah, but they did
Just
save the all-important inhibitor. And let's take a look at why this happened. They actually got poked down fairly heavily early on, and Rux does get a pretty good ultimate off before the exhaust ends up hitting him. I still think he should have ulted himself if he's that close to the team, and he wouldn't have died, but that's another story. Final 5, because Prototype dodges every single Xerath skill shot along the way and has that double buff from a previous kill that he was able to pick up, they can get a chase down. He is still a really threatening Jinx, but Impaler, if he catches him, he's not that threatening.
The aggression. Another kick. Impaler making the Insect look so easy right now. One after the other this game. 25-10. They're putting up the bloodbath. You were right, chat. We're still going to get the kills we wanted out of this game. 2 go down right now for Final 5, and this might be the final 5 minutes they have in Game 2 if Coast keeps pushing through on this one.
Why are they out that far? They need to be back in their base.
Pretty much tanking it, letting everybody know, don't even worry, I have the turret on me. They've now got 3, and they're just slowly taking them down one by one. It's the worst way to lose your team as the opponents are going for the Nexus.
Yeah, still some decent death timers, but the Baron buff is gone. They're just going to take this exposed inhibitor. Getting damaged pretty heavily, though, by casting Lissandra. 2 inhibitors down, and Coast maintaining control, but you can see the threat that is there from Final 5. Let's see where that one's at.
Oh, not much. Good catch.
Who was he going for? Was he going for Soraka?
I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, he was going for Soraka. I think he could have killed Soraka if he hit her.
Yeah, I'll say yeah. Yeah.
Too many mistakes by Final 5. Coast is playing not even an amazing game, but they're playing controlled enough. Final 5 has tried for a lot of chaos. I'd say Impaler has played awesome. He is really carrying
6-0-14 is pretty good
in so many ways.
Oh, he missed out on 7 of their kills in participation.
Yeah, basically because he keeps getting Prototype. And to Final 5's defense, it's rather tough for Jinx to avoid a really good Lee Sin.
That's
it's not
true.
like she can dash away as he flies in to stop from getting kicked backwards. If Impaler gets her, she's getting kicked.
Also credit to, I was thinking about this today as well, the Lee Sins that we've been seeing, you got to hit those Qs as well. He's predicting if Prototype will dodge. He's been hitting them all, so all the credit we're giving to him, even more there for making every one count. Because you miss a few and everybody's like, oh, he's not a very good Lee Sin. But when you hit them all, it just wows you. And still trying to make plays for the team, giving vision now onto shorter ace. Jez is just on the backside here to follow up. And by himself, pretty much making the entire team react, and all of Coast able to collapse down. Nobody even thought of giving shorter ace any help there, and they're going to keep going. Rule 18 gets kicked out, the Sonic Wave to keep him in. He's waiting for the energy, and he does get the resonating strike. Locket of the Iron Solari goes on to make sure he has a bit of the defense needed to get out of this one alive. Gate comes out of nowhere on this one. He's able to pick up 1, but we've been seeing any time these Final 5 members go in, it's almost a death mission that they're going to go down. Gate actually Houdini's himself out of that one, but they did lose 3 to just taking down MASH, and that's been the story of it. Coast comes out on top of another fight.
Yeah, and because of those kills, there's the second exposed inhibitor. Their 5th dragon will be available in 8 seconds, whereas Rux and Prototype are still dead. It looks like they got this one in the bag. They'll be able to get 5th Dragon. They'll be able to get Baron. They have 2 downed inhibitors. There's a lot of things going Coast's way right now.
A lot. I guess you look at this game kind of from start to finish in fundamentals, and they've grabbed everything they needed to. A lot cleaner than game number 1. They're going to get aspect of the Dragon here as they pick this up, and it's pretty much going to be unstoppable for them as they make their way into the base once more.
Well, they're going to try and fight. It's a final fight right now. Rux, he's not going to get the Dragon, but they stole it!
Oh my god, no! Prototype actually gets it as the 80 carry. They take down Jesses. They take down Sheep. Chris gets obliterated, and Rux gets a double kill for himself. Mashme had just spawned. That's the only reason he's alive.
They can get Baron now because they killed pretty much everyone. They still need a base defender, but I still think they can kill Baron. What? Impaler played so amazingly the whole game, but then he doesn't execute the Dragon properly because he was too distracted by Lissandra flying in. A Jinx rocket steals it. They have the Nunu. They're sending Lissandra back for base defense. They may keep themselves in this game. MASH, 1v4. What can he do?
Absolutely crazy. That's a big shot. Short ace on the backside. If he throws out spines, Baron can take him down. Oh, he almost goes down about 10 HP there. The triple kill. I would not try to do that alone, but I'm not Mashme, and now he's going to to try to back off here, looking for crab control, but he also may get the kill out of short ace, and he should not find this and probably shouldn't chase. Maybe he knows the timers. It's going to be Rux quite far off on this one. He knows actually Rux is farming minions, so he can do everything he wants. Huge play by MashMe, and final after coming up with such a big fight, making almost bigger mistake there, Baron.
It's not over till it's over. I think that's the new hashtag of the expansion tournament right here. But Coast will be able to get this Baron.
Yeah, that's huge.
I think, unless a minion auto attack steals it from somewhere. But I think they're going to get this one. They, again, regain control thanks to Mash being able to rocket people out of the pit. They were too low there, and they didn't peel properly for Mash. Slash didn't have the capability of peeling properly for Mash when he came in.
That was so explosive.
Yeah, well, first we're going to replay this dragon because this rocket somehow even gets close enough to the dragon so the AoE damage can kill it. And then, then Rux kills everyone because the Jinx rocket hit them pretty well, and they're able to steal that dragon, plus just clean up the fight. But after the fact, the Corki 1v4 was so critical. The fact that Rux, the person who was basically tasked with killing Mash, had to be back to kill minions. But they needed the Jinx there to... Jinx is normally the minion killer. They needed Jinx there to try and kill the Baron. They probably shouldn't have even tried the Baron in retrospect, but they're trying to think about too many things because you can't predict what just happened. Now there's 2 Baron buff minions, though, and maybe another fight. Final 5 has to go right away. Let's see when Rux engages. That's exactly it. You're seeing another portion of the mentality that happens on these players. They were so excited about getting Dragon. They kind of put themselves into a tight spot at Baron, now holding off what could be one final push here for Game 2. And it looks like Coast is going to be pushing on to the Nexus turrets now, 36-15. The kills on the board as that Bloodbath, like we said, did come about. Now the last kill going over onto Gate. It's going to be the Nexus turrets going down. They're going to be able to drop the second one, and it looks like Coast nicely coming up with Game 2 here in this best-of-5 series at 40 minutes. Several heart attacks later for Coast fans.